So the question that we raise is like, why make 10,000 things and try to sell them 10,000 times when you can make 1,000 things and sell them 10,000 times? So I spent a good deal of my career in what's known as the circular economy. So it's a way to reimagine our economy instead of what they call the linear, take things out of the ground, make things, and then trash them. Very wasteful. We reimagine our economy as a loop where you can keep resources in for as long as possible, and especially with like durable goods, we use them for as long as possible.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Philly Made podcast, the podcast where we build community by learning more about our fellow Philly friends in the business world. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's Partnership Coordinator, and I'm joined here with a very special guest, Nic Esposito, founder of Circa Systems, a company made to maintain the circular economic model and make sure that you are still able to consume without nearly as much waste. I hope you enjoy this episode and learn just as much as I was able to. Thank you. Alrighty. Thank you so much for coming on with me today, Nic.
Thanks for having me, Shannon. It's great to be here.
I appreciate that. All right. So, would you be able to explain to me about how Circa Tech works and what you do there?
Yeah, so Circus Systems was founded by me a couple of years ago, basically as an antidote, an answer to where I see a lot of problems in retail. So our pitch line is always that in the retail sector right now, it's really bad for the triple bottom line. It's bad for people. We have way too much stuff that we're being inundated with that we keep buying. Bad for our planet. We're drowning in waste. And it's bad for profit. So the question that we raise is like, why make 10,000 things and try to sell them 10,000 times when you can make 1,000 things and sell them 10,000 times? And that's what we're really trying to open with Circa Systems and the platforms that we create through it. So I spent a good deal of my career in what's known as the circular economy. So it's a way to reimagine our economy instead of what they call the linear, take things out of the ground, make things, and then trash them. Very wasteful. We reimagine our economy as a loop where you can keep resources in for as long as possible. And especially with like durable goods, we use them for as long as possible. So Circus Systems creates those platforms. And as we looked out on the market and we said, okay, this is what we have in our mind. We don't see anybody doing it the way that we want to do it. In time, we feel that everyone's going to be doing it this way because we have full faith that it's the future. But we said, okay, we have to go out and make our own platform. So the first platform we started with is called Unless Kids. It's a toy buying platform for parents who basically want to buy the toys they want to buy for their kids and get rid of them when they don't need them anymore and have it all in one simple, easy to use solution. So we launched that to a user group back in May. It has been in market, and now we're about to expand further into the city, kind of out of pilot mode and into just sales and platform mode now, which we're super excited about. So that's where we're at right now. And we're not stopping at toys. Toys is the beginning to get us the first system going. But once that happens, Circus Systems just sees a whole host of possibilities that we can apply our methods to just better the world of retail, reduce waste, and just provide something better for consumers.
I think that's a great thing to do. The first thing I thought of when I when I read up on your platform was clothing. I think that's probably what a lot of people think of when they just think of retail, but I also think of like the amount of waste that specifically clothing, like retail stores for clothing, give to the earth. Like the amount of I know even donation bins don't work in the way that everyone expects them to in a lot of cases, and I've been learning a lot more of that recently. And I think that if you guys are starting with toys now, if you're able to go into that market, that's really exciting.
Yeah, and there's exciting things happening in the clothes market too. I want to give props to like ThredUp and the work that Patagonia has done around like their textiles, even Newly from Urban Outfitters. Like there are cool things that are happening right now. So we're definitely the wave is we're on a wave right now. We're just seeing what part of the wave that we're on and how we're going to ride it. And to your point about the clothes thing, I have been to those. After something's donated to the Goodwill or thrift store, can't be used anymore. They usually get shipped to these kind of depots. A lot of them are in Houston, strangely enough, and then they get shipped all over the world. And it is jarring to see how many clothes are in these warehouses being ready to be shipped to Africa and South America. It's incredible.
Yeah. I actually live well, not anymore, but I did like a month ago, I lived across from a Salvation Army, and I am right in front of the parking lot where they bring in the trucks of the clothing, and it's absurd. I've never seen that much clothing in my life. And I'm hoping that it's going like I'm hoping that people are buying it and it's going towards something good, but I know that that sheer amount of clothing is not getting purchased, and I don't know what's happening to it. And I'm sure it's not all good things. So that's a great thing to see happening though. Something that I was wondering is how are you able to grow this from the start?
Yeah. So, from the beginning, I think the first one was just, starting to put a really great team around me. The team at Circa Systems is fantastic. The people that we've been able to work with, our partnerships, that was a big piece of it. From like when we first started thinking about, okay, what does this tech look like? We worked with a really great company in Philadelphia called O3. They are kind of a full service suite that goes everywhere from like product development to like how to get product in market. We work with a branding agency to get our brand up. And that was really important to us to kind of come out presenting well, showing that we're for real and we really care about this. And then, again, it's taking it step by step. We are in the startup world right now. It's a very different time than even like 5 years ago to have a startup and what funders and, people or investors are kind of like requiring from you to have things in market. And I think our team has a really, really good mix of like hustle and grind. And we're not afraid to, put our noses down and do like, I will sit in our warehouse sometimes and input inventory into our, upload spreadsheets to get on our site. I'll do that work, even though it's tedious and it takes hours to do it. However, we're also smart about like, well, what can we get other people to do? And how do we really see the growth potential of this business and let it scale from there? So, yeah, it's a good mix of like larger vision, making the right moves, having the right people around you, and then also being able to hustle.
So, something that maybe unclear about is a lot of this work sounds like a nonprofit to me. And I can see kind of funding model wise why it would, because it seems like investors is a big part of it, as well as like a lot of work that you're doing that maybe would be delegated differently. I'm wondering, so what is the technical side of this? If you could explain, what is the work that you're doing behind the scenes that is not related to like these, I guess these events or drives that you're talking about, if that makes sense?
Sure. Well, first, sorry, let's get us up in our marketing conversation. I know that's an interest of yours. So, we have a saying that we say, where secondhand doesn't mean second rate. And we're already seeing that change, right? Like, I think especially like the Gen Z generation and even a lot of millennials are much more comfortable with buying secondhand. It's not something that's like a stigma or doesn't. So we're kind of over that barrier. But even with that, especially in retail, people are used to certain things, right? You can only retrain the consumer so much. You have to design certain things to just make it easy and simple. So, and that's something I love about the circular economy, is that it's not just like wagging the finger and saying, we have to buy less, we have to save the planet. It's saying, we're going to offer you a really great product that's going to help you be able to buy less, buy things that have been used before, and then save the planet. So that's something that is really important to us as we design our platforms, as we think about how we approach this, is that, again, we cannot have the consumer depart that much from what they're already used to if they go to a general e-commerce site. So what our site is, when you go on, it looks and feels like a normal e-commerce site. The good thing is everything's at a nice discount when it comes to the toys that we have on the Unless Kids site. The reason that we could discount everything is that we have engineered the platform. We engineer how we interact with our customers to be able to have a few innovations that make the take back really important, because take back in this world, and if you talk to anybody in clothing, any durable goods, take back is this term that's gaining much more traction, right? It's like, how do you get your product back? Whether, for product stewardship, which there's laws being passed all over the world for brands and corporations to have to do this. How do you get it back for either reuse or recycling? So just for an example, when you go on the Unless Kids site, a parent goes on, they become a member. There's a very, very low membership fee every month. And it's basically just to get you on the platform. And then once you're on, you create a toy chest for your child. And we get certain very key pieces of information that we need about that child, right? It's like, what month were they born in? How old are they? And then they actually are able to name the toy chest after the child or give a nickname, whatever it is. When a parent goes on and buys stuff, it goes into the toy chest. We deliver an actual physical toy chest to your house. You play with the toys. It's in a durable, reusable container. When it's time for that kid to want something new, right? And this could be applied to like fashion, anything. People they get tired of things, they outgrow them, they lose interest, they just want something new. Toys are great because it's like, how many times can you do the same puzzle? How many times can you read the same book, right? So parent goes on, they're like, I need to freshen this up. They go and they're able to put a bunch of things in their digital toy chest. But in that digital toy chest still is everything else that they have bought before. And what they're able to do is then select what they bought before and hit the swap button on them. So when they check out, we show up to the house with a new toy chest, and then everything else that the parent is like, I want this out of my house, because if I don't do it, like every parent's nightmare, it just keeps piling up and piling up and piling up to you can't even see your basement floor or your playroom floor anymore. So we're helping you manage that by getting this stuff out of the house faster. So you give it back to us, we take it back to our workshop. Again, these parents are going to be either taking it to the thrift store, trying to get on a Facebook group to get somebody to take it and dealing with all that agita, or sadly enough, throwing it away in the landfill because they don't know what to do with it. So we're providing that solution. It kind of alleviates their eco guilt, makes it easy for them. They get to buy new stuff. It's all at a discount because we're getting this product back. We call it playing the game with us. And then we'll also do like, you're a great swapper. Here's 25% off coupon for the platform, right? So those are the things you have to engineer in. Now, everything I just said, that's not just like go get a Shopify, site off the shelf and just start to do that. There is so much programming that has to happen with that sequence happen. So our job is to take all of that complication and make it very simple. So when the user uses it, it's just seamless. It's just simple. Communication's great. The deliveries work. Everything just works. Where a lot of these new innovative circular economy things sometimes tend to fail is one, like I said, they make somebody depart way too much from their normal habits. And then two, they don't always work sometimes. Like the subscription thing doesn't work, the delivery thing doesn't work. Like we're competing with, big companies that have been doing this for a long time, and we have to be able to be as efficient and and customer service based as them.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clearing that up with me, because that provides a lot of clarity. I think that the discount is definitely like a huge incentive. I was wondering how for the swap, is it kind of like, are you still paying for those new toys? It's just at a discounted rate, or are you kind of like just replacing them with the old ones?
Yeah, so we build in the discount into the thought that you are going to swap. We do have some fine print on at the site that if you keep a toy for over a year, you bought it, and we charge you the difference of the discount that you're getting on the toy, basically. But everything's at a pretty steep discount, and we really make it known so that the customer knows, and the member, this is a great service, right? I'm happy to be a part of it. I get to get these toys back. I don't have to think about it. It's making sense for me. And that's why I have a discount, because I'm giving it back. But like I said, we'll still do little tried and true tricks of retail, discounts, like further discounts for when people are like good swappers and things of that nature. For future platforms, we have talked about, the concept of like a rental, right? We talked about like tools as a great example. Like I have some tools in my basement. I'm like, why did I buy? I used this thing twice, all so much money. And again, it's not that crazy. Like people rent tools now. There's a market for that. People rent sports equipment. I rent snowboard and ski equipment for my kids every season because they're going to outgrow it. What we're trying to do is make it so efficient, so well done, that it just becomes the norm of how people buy. It's like, that's just what I do. I go to the site because it just makes so much sense. And within that, we're getting people to reuse product over and over. So, but as I said, when we looked at like rentals to toys, like parents aren't going to rent, an action figure. Like they're just going to get it. They just want to buy it. Like I said, trying to lean into like what normal habits are. So since when we started with toys, we realized that rental is not really a common thing in there. That's why we kind of avoided that and just went for the just purchase a la carte. Again, we also looked at subscriptions too. We found that subscriptions tend to wear off after a time. People use them for a couple months, and then they're like, I don't feel like every month getting a new thing. Like I don't want to get what I want when I want it. So we did a lot of customer discovery when we started. And you asked about when we started up. We spent the first 6 months just having hundreds of conversations with parents about what they want, how they want things, and that's what informed the platform.
I think that's really good. I think customer feedback is one of the biggest um, pushes for making a company better. People who don't listen to their customers, like, they will not make it. That's the most important part. You want to keep them. Um, so speaking of customers and keeping them, how are you able to market yourself to obtain them in the first place?
Yeah, so right now we're taking a localized approach. So we work here in Philadelphia and we're launching this in Philadelphia. So, and I love that you said the retaining part because that's a big piece that I think people forget. Everybody gets excited when you get a startup. You get those first, first customers and you get them on. And just because they're on your site doesn't mean that they're going to use it, right? Like there's another step after that. So just to get people on, we do a lot of outreach within the communities. We do, reaching out to different parent groups, schools, friends groups, showing up, and then really capitalizing on. So it's not just showing up and giving somebody just like a postcard, just talking about what we're doing. The first thing we did was stickers. We had just in temporary tattoos, and I was just like, we did some in like the neighborhood I live in Philly, and then after that, I would just see all these kids walking around with like unless kids stickers, and the temporary tattoos last a while, so I would search like walking, advertisements.
That's so cute.
Wait, and kids love stickers, and it's a really cool looking sticker. It was a holographic, like so. That was really cool that we got people to kind of really spread the word on that. We're pretty good at getting earned media, so it's good to get in the earned media and get just people talking about us. So yeah, it's a kind of mix of like word of mouth, being in person, and really trying to beef up our social media. I think there's companies that sometimes have a hard time straddling both of those worlds, like the in-person physical marketing and then the social media aspect of it. So we are trying to do both, and we've been, relatively successful on both sides of it as we grow the company. So that's what we've been doing. And then for the retention, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you could.
And then for the retention, it's like the marketing emails, reinforcement, especially through social media. And every time as a startup, because a lot of this is what we're testing, we are really good about tracking our touch points. What was the touch point? What did we do? How did it work? What was the feedback? Did that touch point work? Try that one again, right? So it's a lot of kind of like trial and error, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, but always tracking. And then also knowing once somebody actually buys something, you convert them into a real sale. Like how many touch points did that take? So you can start to kind of know what the sales cycle is and stuff like that.
That's really helpful to be able to kind of make a model for it so that you know how it's going to work and you can expect it for the next time. How important do you think referrals are with your business?
I just linked up a referral service on site. Yes. It is important. Yeah. I mean, people want to tell their friends about stuff, especially if they like it. And it's nice to get rewarded as you do it. So, I do think they're very, very important, especially again, if you're taking that like localized word of mouth, approach along with the social media aspect that's getting out to a bunch of people. So definitely referrals are a big piece of it.
Do you have a model for communicating with customers kind of during the process?
Yeah. So right now, and again, that's what we're trying to understand. Well, what works better with some people? Is it email? Is it text messaging? Is it just like social media? Like what are the sometimes physical things that we put into the box? Like we have like here's the next step. Like go for a swap. So those are things that we're looking at. Also, being able to push the technology as far as you possibly can through like email marketing segmentation and stuff like that, or just like list segmentation of knowing like these people bought this, they get this message. These people have a created account, but they didn't get a membership yet. We have all these different touch points of like where someone is at the journey and then what messaging is going out to them as we go. So, again, it takes a lot of my yesterday, today, probably tomorrow. I've just been spent writing email scripts. We're doing a big launch into another neighborhood right now. So what does that look like for all the different people that we need to communicate with and talk with? How much can you just like automate off the bat? How much do you want to just like have the, list that you're setting the email out to? There's all these decision points that we have to make, but yeah, that's the fun thing of putting the puzzle together.
I can resonate with the email scripts. That's a big part of my job too. It's fun and then it's not fun because you realize your emails aren't getting responses and you're like, oh, why is it not getting responses? It seems so nice. Such a nice email. Everyone should respond to my email. But take some fine tuning.
Yeah, no, our head of marketing just gave a comment just now that was like right before I got on. It was like, "This is way too long, and I still don't understand what you're trying to say here." And I'm like, "I got it."
That's a big trouble that I had. My boss has to have talks with me all the time about like my emails are too lengthy, and I'm sorry. It's I'm just a wordy person.
Were you an English major?
I was a political science major, but it's like I feel like it's a parallel to an English major, honestly.
Oh yeah, I suffer from the same.
It's they're similar. All my writing was persuasive papers, so it's like the same thing. But yeah, that was it's a blessing and a curse. But okay, so I guess then a strategy that you do is fine tuning like an email kind of uh what's the word I'm looking for? Automated emails are important because like especially if you have so many people that you're talking to at once, you have to be able to have some kind of it's nice to have personalization to an extent. Like I do a lot of the emails I send out are personalized, if not most of them. Which is does take a lot of time out of my day, but it's also important. But especially if you just need like one reply to something like, oh, did you like this or did you not? Is surveys something that's important for you?
We do, and especially when we called it a pilot. So we started with a very, very set customer base, and that was for not just the sales, but making sure that our operations, like we use what's called reverse logistics. So we have to like get product out, get product back, and it's way trickier than the one way, And we do it all locally. We don't ship, which it's interesting because there are some investors and people that look at that and they're like, that doesn't. You want to send all over the country, all over the don't just localize yourself. But then when you look at their shipping costs and you look what our costs are, I mean, we beat those costs like, over like way above and beyond. So, but I like being on the local way that we do that. And then, yeah, with with that pilot group that we did a lot of surveys on kind of like, how do you want to be communicated with? How was the account creation? How did everything work? So we do that. And as we're expanding into just like a larger user base, we're figuring out like how to do those like shorter surveys just to get that information. But as you said in the beginning, it's like that constant customer feedback. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, that's what makes your product. You got to know what people are thinking about it and then iterate accordingly.
Do you have a proposal process with investors?
A proposal process?
Yes.
How do you mean? Like with that?
I guess like so I'm assuming that you have a group of investors now that you work with regularly, but do you have any kind of process when you say you're trying to work on a new project and you kind of need more money from
Yeah.
whoever it may be? Do you have a process that you'd maybe recommend for someone that's looking to be able to do that same thing? I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the different we would go through rounds. Like, so we're doing like we're following the form of like how tech companies fund themselves. So, we, started with kind of like the founder contribution bootstrap. Like, I borrowed money against my house to like get the first thing kind of up and running and get it going. And again, having those really, really important product and customer discovery conversations during that time. I think that's really, really critical. You want to start building the business. You want to start giving people something that's real and this is happening, but really understanding in a real way, not just like kind of, abstractly, like, what would you think about if I did this? It's like, I am doing this thing. Here's what it looks like. Here's a wireframe, like these kind of things. How are you responding to it to really see if you have something there? It's like the old, like, fail fast kind of thing. Then from there, we went into what we call a pre-seed round. So it's the kind of round that gets you kind of to your MVP, like your minimal viable product, just the thing that you can get in the market and make it real. Especially in this funding climate right now, back in 2021, it just seemed like you could write like an idea on the back of a napkin and give it to people. And they're like, oh, give me $1 million for that. Like, it's a different world. Every conference I go to, it's like, there's definitely a panel that's called like raising, funds when the era of cheap money is over, like, so, I mean, that era is going to come back at some point, but where we're at right now, a lot of investors, especially for like what would be considered the seed round, I think it really kind of gets you more established and starting kind of get much more traction. People wanted to see something in market. They wanted to see traction, not just an idea, not just a concept, not just a prototype. So that's what we did. That Pre-seed got us our MVP, and now we're raising a seed round to then take the MVP that we have, the user base that we have, the systems that we've created, that we've stress tested. And again, they're going to get stress tested more as we have more users, but we feel very confident now. It's like, okay, now we can just open up the floodgates and just let people on the platform start to make this work, and then grow from there.
That's good. I think that the most common thing is showing evidence. I think that you can have like a great idea and you can back it up with any kind of statistics or like proof, but if you don't actually put it out into the world and actually test it with real people and not just like kind of an interest group, I think that's something that will convince investors much more than just, an idea.
And some people are better salespeople than others. They can sell somebody anything. You can sell them an idea, and like that's going to be always be. But yeah, I think that's definitely true. And I think another thing I give advice to like founders when they start talking to people or people that are founding these companies is like really knowing who you're talking to and why you're talking to them. There is this thing of like you just got to talk to everybody. Like anybody that reaches out, whether they're like a big venture capital firm, an angel investor, an investment, whomever, I make time for them because I'm like I want to make this happen. But knowing kind of what your funding strategy is, what's appropriate, where you're at and your timing, like, what the ask should be. I think that's an important thing that founders should keep in their mind.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to, someone funding you that doesn't have your best interest in mind too. I think I've talked to a lot of nonprofits where they have to say no to people and like, they would really like that money, but they have to say no because they're not a good place to get money from.
Or
that does happen.
Mission it, it'll make your mission creep to a different thing. They're what they're funding you for sure. And I have in the tech investment space, it's like, you get an investor and it's like, you guys should really be doing this. And then all of a sudden your mission is completely changing because the investor they're dangling the money in front of you saying, go in this direction. And you're like, all right, I'll follow the money. And then you end up losing your vision and it's different from,
Yeah, it's like if Coca-Cola invested in you, it's like, maybe they're causing a lot of the problem. So maybe that's not a great idea, but they probably give you a lot of money.
All of a sudden we're just like getting Coke bottles back.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, glass, a little better than other things, but still not great. Okay, so here's my favorite part of the video is we are going to do rapid fire Philly questions. Are you ready?
I am ready. Yeah.
It's not a quiz. There's no wrong answers unless you name a bad cheesesteak place. And I go there and I'm upset. So, don't upset me.
We'll do my best.
All right. What is the first word you think of when you think of Philadelphia?
I'm gonna go on the positive side. I'm trying to think of a synonym on this. Magnetic. I'm gonna go with magnetic.
Okay, give an adjective. That's interesting. A lot of people would be like rocky. Or like a player from the 76ers that I don't know the name.
Well, I did definitely, the Phillies are on top of mind right now for me, but I say magnetic because it pulls, like Philly is this, I've heard people say this, they move away or they come here and it's hard to find the type of community that you find in Philly and other places. It's a really special place. And also every time I try to get away from the city, I just can't do it. I keep getting pulled back into it. So,
I get it. My entire family has lived in New Jersey since they came here through Ellis Island, and no one has ever left except for me and my sister. We both went to Philly and we haven't left Philly since. It kind of just has that, I don't know, it has that je ne sais quoi, What celebrity do you think of when you think of Philadelphia?
Ooh, that's a good one. Celebrity that I think of when I think of Philadelphia. There's so many. First one that's popping into my head is, I'm on a baseball kick right now. I'm gonna go with Bryce Harper.
That's totally good. I mean, we do get a lot of sports. There's so many. There's so many people. Okay. Favorite cheesesteak spot.
Favorite cheesesteak spot. I am through and through for all sandwiches and cheesesteaks at Tony Luke's guy.
All right, we have had that before. So okay, that's good. I'm not getting any new ones. Disappointing. I'm just kidding. What's the small business that you frequent the most?
Small business I frequent the most would probably be aside from like, I feel like I'm keeping like La Colombe on Frankfurt Avenue in business, even though I don't need any help because I go there a lot. Also, I'm going to give a plug for another project that I had started that I frequent a lot, the Head in the Hand, at the bookstore, so H&H Books,
I love that in my
Frankfurt
head.
Avenue. You've been there before?
Yes,
Yeah, so I founded H&H, or the Head in the Hand, is a publishing company.
I didn't know that.
Now it's a bookstore, and I go in there tomorrow to pick up 2 books. So it's like I'm a pretty avid reader, that English major. So I'm constantly in there picking books up.
Oh, that's incredible. I had no idea. That's insane because I look into you and I still didn't know that. That's incredible. Yeah, I love reading. I love books. Ever since I was like a kid, I've been reading like 3 books a week minimum for the past forever, unless I don't have time. But that's awesome. So what is your favorite place for a drink or a meal?
I really like going to, again, kind of staying in my neighborhood. I really like going to, there's so many places, but I'm going to go with the first one that popped in my head, Martha Bar.
Or the bar, Okay.
Great drinks there. The food's fantastic. Yeah, really like that place.
Awesome. All right. If you were to change something about Philadelphia, what would it be?
How the city government functions and operates. Like I said, it's a magnetic city, pulls you back. I think the thing that tries to repel you is just how frustrating and hard it could be to live in the city from your trash collection. And I spent, as you might have looked into me in my career, I spent almost 10 years working in city government, so I feel like I have even more cred to say this. And I spent a lot of time trying to make it better. It's a challenging city for like just how it operates, and it's very frustrating. I wish that would change.
As a political science major, I very much resonate with that. I've seen Philadelphia's funding model. I'm not too happy with it, where the money goes, but it's so cool. Are you familiar with Mayor Street?
Yes, I know Mayor Street. Yes.
He was one of my professors at Temple.
Yes. Yeah, that's cool.
Which was interesting. He is on the older side as of now, but I did learn a lot about Philadelphia specifically. So it was very interesting to have a former mayor as a professor for sure. But yeah, learned a lot about that. The trash collection is something that's very disappointing, and the workers' comp list for people in that profession is way too long, and no one's taking care of them. So that's, I get into this too much. Anyway, what is your favorite neighborhood in Philadelphia?
Oh, my favorite neighborhood. I mean, I gotta go with, my own. I do really like living here in like the East Kensington, Fishtown neighborhood. But I will say a very close second that it's like near and dear to my heart, even though most people have moved out of here from like my time. But I lived in like the Baltimore Avenue, West Philly neighborhood for a while. And I just went back to like a music festival, like the bands that kind of came out of there in like the mid 2000s. And it was just, yeah, there's a certain nostalgia there. Every time I hear Shadow People by Dr. Dog, it like takes me back to that time when everybody was in the neighborhood. So
I thought it was incredible. My roommate works with Dr. Dog's partner and had no idea. Like the entire, it just came up. They had no idea how famous they were in Philadelphia, which is like the most wild thing ever. Like I hear about them constantly. Like I feel like I can't even avoid hearing about them. And they just went to their concert and didn't expect to see that many people. I was like, of course. This is such a famous person. All right. Well, I very much appreciate having you on today. That is all we have for today. Thank you so much, and it was really great to learn about this. I actually my sister is having a kid very soon, and I think that this would be a great opportunity for toys specifically because she really does like things like this, and I think that both of us try our best to be able to reuse and reduce waste as much as possible. So that's kind of incredible.
well, please refer to us. And thank you for this. It was a very fun conversation. I really appreciate it. So thanks for it.